In the old days of India and the teachers of yoga and spiritual teachers, uh, astrology actually came first. Before there was actually any kind of formal yoga practices, there's already the science of astrology that existed worldwide and through different cultures, India, Greek, the Western world, and the Eastern world too, in China and in India. So basically, astrology in some ways was really how we began this exploration and transformation of ourselves and understanding the cosmos and the universe and consciousness. This was the first approach that we developed as human beings. Now, shortly thereafter that, we also developed the ability to also begin to even use sound for self-discovery and transformation through the practice of mantra, the human voice, and also instruments, but primarily mantra chanting. And this was as actually the first yoga practice was actually mantra. And so now we're seeing that from astrology, the mantra came about, the chanting to the planets, to the cosmos, which was gave rise eventually to the practice of yoga, like sun salutations. You would discover there's a lot of things in yoga, the sun breath, the moon breath, that are also very much related to astrology. And consequently, also a little bit to sound, particularly the mantras. We'll be working with mantra as well when you're working with astrology and, of course, yoga. And not so much today, but also the sound healing and sound is also connected with astrology as well. The music of the spheres. There's always this fascination with sound and music and how it related to the cycles of time. And as I said, and to the planets. People try to study this or have studied it for literally thousands of years, hundreds of years, about the idea behind sound in astrology. And as we said, astrology and yoga are almost like they are sisters. They're sister sciences and what we're doing. So all these things really, in some ways, we bring them together because they're very powerful when you use all the different attributes and approaches to self-understanding and personal transformation. So today, what we'd like to do is just, first of all, let's just play around with this idea that these three things have very much profound ability to change us if we know how to work with them together and individually as well. Astrology is about time. In some ways, yoga is also about the ability to transcend time. Astrology allows us to navigate it, like when's it a good time for this or what's going on now in the time stream. And yoga says, well, how do we actually rise above the limitations of the time stream? How do we learn to live in the eternal present and be fully who we are, no matter what time it is, because we are eternal. And that's what the yoga is about in terms of the relationship to the astrology as well. Most of us have now probably heard of something called Mercury Retrograde, right? It's become so popular. I was doing astrology 35, 40 years ago, and no one knew what this was except astrologers. You would certainly not see it in the newspaper in the old days, or even in magazines in the old days. And consequently, it's only in the last probably, oh, 15 years, maybe 20, that Mercury retrograde has actually been something that some people know about who aren't into astrology or yoga. And now everyone, I mean, the New York Times, I mean, all the major newspapers, it all shows up somehow. I was actually on NPR one time talking about the astrology of the eclipse and the idea of it. So it's really kind of come out now that people are more aware of the movement of the planets and how they do affect consciousness and our everyday lives. And Mercury retrograde is a great example of that. I keep seeing articles like 10 things to do to not go crazy with Mercury retrograde. Things you should never do when Mercury is retrograde. Time to find your old lover when Mercury is retrograde. Do not buy a house when Mercury is retrograde. So it's really got to be a thing for people now. And you hear all things about, the warnings and opportunities and everything. But there is a reality that when planets move, they do affect us. It's like what's on the outside is on the inside. Inside you are all the planets. You're the sun, you're the moon, you're Mercury, you're Mars. Because nothing could exist outside of you that doesn't already exist inside of you. As above, so below. As without, so within. So when we're trying to understand ourselves, there is that inward journey of meditation, but there's also that outward journey to how the universe is presenting itself to us in this time. And one way it presents itself to us is the cosmic clock ticks and goes on, the cosmic clock of astrology, where planets move around the sun rotates around the axis, we have night and day, we have the months with the moon, and consequently, we are looking outside ourselves to these movements, these planets, these energies, to learn more about the energies and the planets inside ourselves. So you have a Mercury inside you, and outside you, Mercury currently is doing what we call retrograde, which is really appearing to move backwards. Now, literally, it does not. But to our appearance and to our experience too, this is interesting, to our experience, when Mercury is appearing to actually move backwards in the sky. And I like, if you look at Mercury here on the slide, Mercury was the messenger. He would deliver information. He would move through time and space to get someplace, to give the people a message. Very quick too. Mercury is very quick. So one thing that Mercury has always been about is about communication. How do we hear? How do we speak? How do we receive information verbally or through the written world? Or even internally, how do we receive the communication that's being offered us as well? I think it's also interesting that Mercury is also connected somewhat with healing. You see the caduceus, you see the rod that Mercury's holding, that's used as a medical symbol of bringing together the major energies of the body, the Ida and the Pingala in yoga, the Kundalini energy rising up through the staff of the caduceus to the top like that for the enlightenment, the freedom of spirit, the bird, the eagle. So here's Mercury holding something that is really representational of, you might even say, Kundalini energy, right? Because why? That's the real message. That's the real information you need. Not like, oh, I'm coming to see you next week, or that's interesting maybe. But the real information, the real communication everyone is looking for is, how do I find that true sense of self through the integration of the duality of the two energy channels, Ida and Pingala, to allow the movement of Kundalini to reach the crown and to open up ourselves to enlightenment. And understand that, in some ways, Mercury is that messenger that brings us to enlightenment and an understanding of who we are. By by tapping into that inner communication, the inward messages that it's bringing us all the time. When Mercury is appearing to go backwards in retrograde, that's because there's something in us that also needs, not to, I want to say backwards, to reflect, to review, to return, to redo, to rejoin. It's a retrograde, to go back, to move backward a little bit. Why? Because oftentimes there's something we miss. Because remember, Mercury's very fast and it wants to go forward and just quick. And so sometimes we're like that too. And we go forward, I don't know if it's too fast, but in our forward journey, we're not paying attention to things sometimes we miss, and we become remissive. And we have to find a way to integrate maybe some things in our life that we have just missed. And Mercury is retrograde is about. It's a great time to review, to renew, to return, to repair, to take care of things that have come from the past that might hold us there unless we do that, so that we can, just like Mercury, move more quickly forward through our life and our time. So we need to pay attention to what Mercury is doing. What does this mean for us? It's said in astrology, when a planet stops in its movement and then appears to go backwards, then it stops appearing to go backwards and starts to move forward again. So these stopping points, in some ways, are the most important parts of the experience of a retrograde planet. So when Mercury's stopping and now it's going backwards, we need to look toward that time when once again it's completed the backward movement and starts to move forward. It stands still, becomes powerful. In the meantime, we need to take care of old business, old things. Even old things that are broken that can be repaired. That could even be a relationship, right? Or it could be, a machine. It's also time to go back and appreciate what has happened and to review. This is actually just in a very trivial way. This is a great time to read a book that you've read before, to watch a movie you've watched before, to go to a place that you've gone to before, or to visit a friend you haven't seen for a while. To go to situations in your life that need to be addressed, like your closet is all full of stuff and it's stuff from the past. I'm going to go in my closet and clear it out. It's really like taking care of that past energy that somehow got stuck in a closet. And we've all got big closets. And a lot of things get stuck in those closets all the time. And Mercury says, look, it's time to really take it out. Now, when it's going retrograde, it's moving backwards, our brain is also starting to move backwards a little bit. In fact, we almost end up with a half a brain because the part of our brain that usually allowed us to make good analysis of what to do is kind of on vacation now for a little bit. That's why they say don't make big decisions, because sometimes that the brain isn't seeing and functioning properly to make that major decision. The left brain is not working well right now. In yoga, we understand that when you breathe through the right nostril, it activates and energizes the left side of the brain. This is the side of the brain that is now kind of on a vacation because of Mercury. So what we're doing is we're kind of giving it a little juice now to turn it on more so that we can compensate for the weakness that's present during a retrograde. The next thing is there is a mantra that is really great for retrogrades. There's several mantras like this. It's called a Gatka mantra. It's a mantra that goes forward and backwards, just like Mercury does. Ekonkar Satguru Prasad, moving forward. Satguru Prasad, Ekonkar, moving back. Ekonkar Satguru Prasad, moving forward. Satguru Prasad, Ekonkar, moving back. As we inhale, you mentally hear those. That's the two first lines. Ekonkar Satguru Prasad. As you exhale, you mentally hear Satguru Prasad Ekonkar. You do not chant it out loud. So once again, inhale through the right nostril, mentally repeat Ekonkar Satguru Prasad. Exhale through the left nostril, Satguru Prasad Ekonkar. At the same time, the last thing you do is simple. You just put your thumb tip to your small finger of your left hand, and you can rest in your lap, or you can hold it up beside you. As you inhale through the right side, Ekonkar Satguru Prasad, silently. As you exhale to the left side, Satguru Prasad, Ekonkar. Ideally, if you have the time, 7 minutes is a good time to work with this breath and the mantra and the mudra. And if you really want to explore this more, I do have I think it's an amazing course. It's just been developed called Cosmic Kundalini Astrology and Yoga. It's about 3 weekends, only 3 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday. But it really gives you all the information about all the planets, how they all affect you with your yoga practice, what you can do with it, all that fun stuff as well. And the great thing about this course is it starts after Mercury starts being retrograde. And even during the course, I planned it so we do things in the full moon during the course itself. So it really is astrologically aligned, as well as also just the information is timeless in terms of when you can apply it. But learning how to work with the planetary energies through yoga practices, through breath, through mantra, through postures, through kriyas, putting it together in a way that's hopefully beneficial for you individually. Like, what do you need to do with your life and with your astrology and with your practice of yoga to really bring things into more of an alignment in consciousness. So thank you for being here.